What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Rad Chad Show. Today we have got a review for you of Exit: The Abandoned Cabin. Now, I'm a little bit late to the party here. I've played a lot of other escape room games, including the Unlock series and the board game series, but this is my first go around with the Exit games. It's won the Spiel. It's getting a lot of praise. Should I have maybe tried this one first? Let's find out and see just how good it actually is. Okay, as much as I'd love to do a rules overview of Exit, to be honest with you, there pretty much aren't any, and what little there actually are would be spoilerific. So basically the way that it works is you have three different decks of cards. One is your riddle deck. These are the cards that you're going to flip up. They will, in general, tell you like pieces of the puzzle that you need to solve so that you can escape the room. Then you've got your hint cards, which you can use throughout the course of the game if you need a little added help to get you through. And then last but not least, you kind of have the, I'll call it the solution cards. So if you think you figured out the solution to the puzzle, you go and look at one of these cards. It'll tell you if you're right. If so, great. You advance. You normally find more puzzles, things like that. So those are the three decks that you get. But then you also get two other main components. So you've got this neat little contraption that is like three dials kind of smushed into one. And you can spin these dials around to help you figure out a lot of the puzzles that you'll need in order to escape the cabin. And then last but not least, you've got this booklet. It's sort of like almost like a rules size style little booklet that's got some pictures of the cabin. It gives you a whole bunch of clues. It's got some puzzles and other things inside of it. And almost all of this content, other than the riddles portion, is basically available to you right from the get-go. And so basically, let's talk about the main points about this game and how I felt playing it. Now, we played it as a 4-player game. It took us an hour and 10 minutes to get through it, and I think we used 4 clues, and one of those is a bit iffy. I counted it as using a clue, even though we might have been able to say that, no, we didn't actually need that clue. So the first thing that I want to mention is that the difficulty was spot on if this is your first entry into escape room board games. To further elaborate on that, my second point is there are a ton of individual puzzles, but there's not a whole lot of interconnectivity between those puzzles. So I'll talk about this a little bit later, that the theme of this being trapped inside a cabin, you know, your car breaks down, you're kind of lost out in the woods, you find this cabin, you decide to bunk there for the night, basically. That's kind of the general concept that the intro paragraph that you read right off the bat. And so you're locked in there all of a sudden, and you have to find out how to get out. This theme, I think, really could have shine through a heck of a lot better than what they did. So now in the Unlock series, and I'll come out with a video later that kind of compares and contrasts all the games, but in the Unlock series, they do a pretty good job of taking the story, the general concept of why you're locked in there, and building the puzzles around that. In this game, I don't know. It was just kind of like, you know, there's sort of like this madman. He's created some arbitrary random puzzles just laying out across this cabin, and you need to solve them for whatever reason. Like it doesn't make much thematic sense for why you're doing it. But there are a lot of puzzles. And I'll tell you this much, that the pacing of those puzzles is phenomenal. You really do go from one to the next, into the next, into the next. And there are definitely a handful that could trip you up and could be difficult, but I don't think anything is so much so that you're just going to be stumped forever and ever, amen, especially because this game really has a great hint system. So the way that it works is each puzzle has got a icon, so be it a circle, a square, a triangle, what have you, that sort of references that individual puzzle. And that deck of hint cards you can go searching through, and there are 3 hint cards that correspond to each puzzle. Now, the first hint card that you're going to look at will simply tell you, here are the cards that you need out on the table in order to even solve this puzzle. So if you're beating your head against a brick wall, you look at that first hint card and you realize, oh crap, well, we didn't actually have this one card. Well, that's a great way of not actually telling you what you need to do the puzzle, but just saying, hey, you're not quite there yet, hang on a little bit and worry about this puzzle later. I love that about that. The second clue will tell you, okay, this is how you can get back on track. This is how you maybe should start looking at this puzzle, but it doesn't full-blown solve the puzzle for you. It just gives you a hand, a push in the right direction. And then the last one, if you're just completely stumped, just gives you the solution. And I thought this was a really good way of helping players out. And again, I think this is a very good difficulty for people who are just getting into escape room games. Now, as I had mentioned, we've played the Unlock games, we've played the escape room board game games, so we're a little bit more experienced but new to this specific series of game. Even despite that, I mean, I felt like that pacing of going from one puzzle to the next puzzle to the next puzzle, kind of like rapid fire, even though it took us an hour and 10 minutes, it really didn't feel like it took that long at all. And also, here's another thing. This game, probably more so than the others that I've played so far, I thought really encouraged collaboration. So it would give you a decent bit of content out there, so much so that in a 4-player game, it was enough for each person to get hands-on and take a look at a card, try to figure some things out, say, okay, you got the other piece of that puzzle, hey, let's work together a little bit. Like, there was always something you could reach out there, grab, and actually be doing yourself. It was never like, oh, I've got the one thing, and the other 3 people are just staring at me, trying to wait for me to figure out the one thing that I'm looking at. No, everybody had something that they could be looking at. That's phenomenal. I love that. I also think that, what was I going to say? Oh, so you have all this stuff to look at, but it never feels overwhelming. I mean, there's not so, like, there have been a few of these games where we just look and there's like 101 things out there and we're like, okay, do I even need to be looking at this right now? Should I be dealing with this? I don't know. There's that thing over there. Well, it just, like, sometimes there's like strewn about, especially in the Unlock games, there's strewn so many things out there that you really don't know which direction to go. And I thought this game did a great job of giving you direction and making it clear. This is the puzzle you need to be on. Sure, there might be other things out on the table, but here's the main focus of where you need to be right now. And so, for example, there were some times where, like, me and my friend or me and my wife, we might be focusing on the main puzzle, but then the other 2 players might be focusing on the upcoming puzzle. So as soon as we were done with our puzzle, they were already like, hey, we've kind of got some things already figured out for this next one. When we solved ours, a new card came out, boom, I'm telling you, it really works out well. So at the end of the day, I'm a huge fan of escape room games. I'm fully on board with this idea. If you are new to escape room games, I think this is an excellent entry point. The game's like $12 or $13 online. It's finally back in stock, so that's how I was able to get it. I think that this might be, along with the formula, even Escape Room, the board game, the first one of those, it might be, this is tough. I really gotta, it might be the best entry-level one I've played so far. At least my wife felt so. And so I really got to give this game credit. It's a great game. I highly recommend it. If I had to slap a score on it, I'd give it a very, very good 8 out of 10. And again, I think the only thing that might hold it back is the fact that I just felt like the theme didn't shine through all that much, and they missed some opportunities. Like, the component quality was just okay, right? And not only was the component quality just okay, but the fact that it's a destructible game. You can't replay this after you're done, not only because you know all the things that are going to go on in it, but you literally have to fold, tear, break stuff. I mean, it's over. When we were done with this, it just looked like scraps all over the table. And then the last thing that I would dock it for, and these are all minor nitpicks, is, man, I was really babied by the Unlock series, just in the sense that they had that app. And this game needs an app. Oh, it would be a 10 out of 10 if it had that app. There are some puzzles in there that could be fully done within an app. It would prevent the game from having to be destroyed. You could add in sound effects that bring in a little more of that immersion, which would solve my theme issue. I just think an app would really set this game head and shoulders above everybody else out there. If that is the one thing that I think that this game could have really done to make it an unbelievably amazing experience. But even still, it's a great game. 8 out of 10. Exit the abandoned cabin. Give it a shot.
Thank you for watching the Rad Chad Show. Until next time.